This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
I personally think Christian Bale was the best Batman. You guys can discuss that, but that's just my opinion. But we all remember Christopher Nolan's 3-part Batman series, The Dark Knight. And we all know, we just experienced an amazing movie, The Joker, but Heath Ledger won an Oscar for his performance as the Joker. And there's a scene in there where he's in the hospital talking to District Attorney Harvey Dent. And Dent accuses the Joker of carrying out these evil plans, and, he's just this mastermind, and he's going to kill his girlfriend. And the Joker said something that's amazing, and I think can help a lot of you as business owners. Maybe you're in sales and marketing, whatever it may be, entrepreneur. He says this, Heath Ledger, Joker says this: "Do I really look like a guy with a plan? I'm just a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it, I just do things." And I think as entrepreneurs, we're kind of the same thing. It's like, what would we do and why are we chasing the car? And what would we do if we caught the car? It's kind of silly, a dog chasing a car. And I want to approach this from a lot of different angles. But first, let's hit this on the last statement. I just do things. Activity and just doing activity is not the right response for you being proactive in your life. And I talk about this all the time, physically, mentally, spiritually, making sure that you're a 10 in all those areas in your life. You can't be a 10 and you can't lead properly if you have no schedule and your plan is to walk in the front door of your business and allow your employees to tell you the emergencies that's going on, and then you spend all day long fixing them. Who made your schedule right then? Your employees did. Here's how you break that. You want to break that? Because some of you, I know business owners that's been doing this for years. They've had a 20-year business, and this is what they do. They have no idea what they're going to do. They walk in the door, and then they allow all the emergencies to dictate their schedule for the whole day. And then they come home and they're exhausted. And they really didn't do anything but do what their employees are supposed to do for them. That's why you hired people to handle this for you. So you're not working in the business, you're working on the business. So let me explain this. This is a very simple thing to do. Somebody comes to you and says, "Hey boss, we got this, and then this vendor is this." Number one thing that you can say, how would you handle that? Listen to them. If it sounds halfway wise, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you don't have to handle it and they'll handle it at a 6, or maybe real quick, you can tell them how to bump it to an 8 or a 9 in the way they handle it. I like your plan, but let's add this, this, and this. What do you think about that? Or, I love your plan. Why don't you go handle that? Start empowering people. And you say, "Well, I can't trust that person to handle that." Well, then that's on you as a leader. Maybe you need to get rid of that person. If you can't trust them to handle a situation, that's why you have to understand they are all your employees are small little leaders. Whether it's the janitor that's going to be in charge of making sure the facility is up to par and safe because you don't want somebody slipping on the floor. You don't want a bathroom out of order. They are a leader of that facility in handling that. And you have to understand leadership has to be transferred. It's not just you. You're not the bottleneck. You don't just do things and chase cars all day long. Nothing ever happens. You have to have a plan. Some of you have been chasing cars and you haven't caught one yet. You wouldn't even know what to do. You're looking for a client and you want this big client and you're like, "I'm doing all these things. I'm sending a gift card to them. I made this cool basket. I dropped it off at their work. I've scheduled a lunch with them, but they just keep telling me no." And then finally you get the yes. You've been working them for 6 months and you get a yes. And you don't know what to do after they say yes. It's because you haven't reverse engineered a plan. If you ever got a yes before, go through from the moment you got the yes and how you handled the client, go through all that, and then go backwards from that. Go from the future to the past and work through that. Get a notepad out, put your phone away for 20 minutes. I know it'll kill you, but put your phone away for 20 minutes. Sit down with the notepad and reverse engineer it. And I guarantee you, I absolutely guarantee you, you'll find holes in your plan and you'll come up with a solution. We have to stop just doing things. Activity makes us seem like something's useful and that stuff is actually happening, but you're just the headless chicken. There's a headless chicken. There's a lot of activity till it dies. It's expending a lot of energy. It's running all around, blood squirting everywhere. It looks pretty dramatic. And you're doing the same thing in your work. You're running around from department to department, putting out fires like a headless chicken till you die. You have to understand, chasing clients, just like a dog chases cars, is what most salespeople do. They don't understand that chasing in and of itself, think about that. If I stopped chasing clients and started earning clients through providing value, what would that look like? I talked to someone just the other day and they're like, well, I got rejected by this. I said, it's perceived value. If you told them, you give me $1 right now and I'll give you 1 ounce of gold, people will do that all day long. If the gold's sitting in your hand and you have a certificate of authenticity and you say, they'd be like, well, what's the catch? You've got to create so much value that somebody says, well, what's the catch? This seems too good to be true, Jason. And then now you can explain the value and tell them exactly. But you don't understand their problem good enough to where you can provide enough value. So what you do instead is just try to do they call it a pump and dump, where I know it sounds horrific, but that's the name of it, where you just go and you just give tons of information about how great your company is, and then hopefully that sells it. Yeah, you may sell a few. But how do you coordinate that, customize that, and make it perfectly so that it fits the pain and issues that your client's having? And then how do you provide value over the competitors? What's the solve? What's the ROI? How does it save me money? Why should I give you time? I'm not owed. This is another thing too. Salespeople sometimes, they just come in, walk in. I will never, ever accept an appointment from a salesperson that just walks in. It is so rude. You figure out a way to get to me creatively, and then show me that you have some intention, and then I'll schedule a meeting with you for 10 minutes. If you haven't researched enough, and I've done that before, I've just took every meeting, and it's a waste of time because they're just glad they got the meeting. They chased the dog. The dog's chasing the car. They chased the car. They got the meeting. And guess what? They have no idea what they're presenting in the meeting. And so they just do the pump and dump. And I'm just sitting there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And they're just going on and on about how amazing their company is and how amazing they are as a salesperson. So I was like, this is just a waste of my time. Not going to do this. So let's say, how creative can you get in getting the client? And once you chase that car and you get that car, what's the outcome? See, you need to reverse engineer this stuff. A lot of people don't understand that. Because whenever you begin to look at this in this proactive manner instead of a reactive manner, it forces you to do what you should be doing anyway. Let me say that again. It forces you to do what you should be doing anyway. As a business owner that you should be working on the business, not in the business. But because you're not having a game plan, you have no GPS, no map. So you're just walking in, winging it every day. And so the things that you should be doing, having lunch and establishing that relationship better with your vendors. So 6 months from now, a year from now, you can get better pricing. Forecasting, going over reports, having leadership meetings, coaching your employees taking the time to sit them inside and go 30, 45 minutes with them and have a meeting. Instead of having a meeting with salespeople, how about you have a meeting? External salespeople that are coming in. How about you have coaching meetings? When's the last time you've set your best employees down and coached them? I don't know how to do that. Well, you better get some leadership books, some coaching books. Spend the time on making a coaching plan where you're once a month sitting them down and talking to them. You will find out so much information in what is going on with your business and what direction you should go. The best question you can ask with coaching, if you were an owner of this business and you act like that, Bill, this is what I would say to some of your best employees. You act like that, Bill. You take ownership and you do great. And I'm really happy with you. And you've worked for me for 10 years and it's just been amazing, or a year or whatever. Bill, if you were in my shoes, if you were an owner, I want you honestly to tell me some of the changes that you would make are some of the things that you see that are weaknesses. Because if you're honest with me right now and tell me this, I think we can fix some of these things and it won't hurt us in the long run. That employee's bought in. If they're a great employee, they've bought into your business, they've bought into the culture, they've bought into everything. They're going to have huge insight. Write those down. Don't look at your phone. Put your phone down when you do coaching. It shows them that they're not important. Close your door and you look in them in the eyes and you talk to them and you focus on them and you write stuff that they say down. That shows that they're being valued and that you're listening to them. That is one of the great ways that you can demonstrate humility to your employees. Not a false sense of humility. You're still being a leader, but you're listening to them and you're valuing their opinions. And their opinions, if they're a good employee, is going to be gold for you. Now you can take all of these opinions. You're going to get like 15, 20 different things. And now and then you sit them in a room after you've correlated all that and you put it on a big blackboard, a whiteboard or whatever. It's funny, the names that we have for that. That's just silly. But you put them on there and a dry erase and you go chalkboard, whatever it may be. And you go through and you look on there and you say, these are the things that we need to work on in a business. And I know some of you had shared that this and this and this and this. How do you think we should accomplish these things? And then they're going to tell you, everybody's going to start talking. Maybe these are your 5 best employees and 5 best leaders. They're going to start talking to you about these things because they've all bought in because these are their ideas. Then you say, here's the magic. I want to divide these up and let's take ownership of these. Who can handle these and solve these problems? And then we're going to meet once a month and go over each of these and see how we're progressing towards those. Which ones we solved, which ones we didn't. If you solve 20 problems, 15, 20 problems in your business, and they took ownership of it, what do you think would happen to your business in a year? They just showed you, because they're boots on the ground, showed you the weaknesses that you had. And then you fixed those, and you didn't fix them, they fixed them. All you're doing is having an hour meeting every month. Do you see how powerful this is? But instead, you'd rather chase cars. You'd rather walk in the door and just run around like a chicken with your head cut off and do absolutely nothing all day long. Well, you're like, well, I saved this client and they were so upset and I had to call them. Did you? Did you have to call them? Why did you have to call them? Well, I'm the business owner. They would expect to hear from me. Would they? Do you think that your employee could have done that? Or maybe your employee could have went to their business and went and got some Krispy Kreme donuts, 2 dozen, and dropped it off and said, we apologize, we're sorry, wanted to bring some donuts for your employees. Which do you think has more of an impact? You talking to them really fast and being disrupted and giving them 5 minutes and just apologizing a whole bunch? Or the person that made the mistake going in there and apologizing and bringing donuts? Do you see what I'm saying? Stop chasing cars. And I want to encourage each of you to look, to be proactive, to listen, to understand. Your employees have all the keys. The people that are motivated and work for you, that you know are loyal, they have all the keys for your success. They're trading their time, which is limited. Think about this. It's limited. We only have 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, 50 years, 40 years, whatever it may be in our lives. They're trading that time. The clock's ticking for them to die. They're trading that time for money, to work for you, They're spending most of their time with you in your business. So they will have the answers. You want to have an amazing culture, you want to create engagement, do these things. Stop chasing cars. And if you're chasing cars, what are you going to do once you get one? So I want to encourage you guys. I got a lot of this information from Daniel Levis, and I always like to give credit where credit's due. DanielLevis. It's the science of client getting. He had talked about this, so I always take like an outline from it, and then I kind of add my spin on there and go through it. If you guys like these, I can do more of these. I always get tons of information. I get hundreds of emails, and I'm always constantly reading from, whether it's philosophy, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, leadership, whatever it may be. I can, do different ones. Just let me know. If you haven't subscribed to my Instagram, I'm most active there. It's ABQ Jason Rigby. That's ABQ Jason and then RIGBY. I'd encourage you to subscribe on there. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.